Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the GG Gaijin. Oh, that's not the official name, that's just the name that I gave it. It's a horny boar, basically. Now, the insignia on the side is actually from a Luftwaffe insignia, if I'm not mistaken, but it just fits this tank so good. This is a fantastic German 8.7 battle rating main battle tank. It's practically a modified chassis of the Leopard 1 with a different turret and a fantastic gun with the name of the Rheinmetall L44. And everything about the tank is either fantastic or acceptable. Now in the intro you could see how good the 20mm coaxial machine cannon is, the Rheinmetall 202 if I'm not mistaken. And it's fantastic against aircraft, much like on the KPZ-70. And one of the questions is why the tank has this battle rating, and if it's just too much German bias. And I think it's just a prime example of compression. Now, hold your breath for just a moment. If you have not received any word of this tank, it's a fantastic tank from the stock, from the get-go. Even stock, this tank is fantastic. Let's talk about the ammunition, let's talk about the mobility, the armor and how to play it. So first of all, the ammunition. The stock shell is the DM12 heat defense round with 650mm of penetration. 650, that is 50mm more than the SS11 ATGM. Granted, the first time you get it is at 6.7, so 2 battle ratings lower, but on those 2 premium tanks it's utterly overpowered in my opinion, as well as because it's backup armament. So Stridswagen 81 and also the MX-13 SS11. So here I'm using the reverse gear and I try to further flank the enemy, and the most dangerous opponents is just about to arrive, which is here an M1 Abrams, and I just miss where I wanted to aim for the gun section, and he just fires at the wrong portion of my tank just because I accelerated a bit forward, and there I hit it, the gun barrel and the cannon breech, and that gives me the time to extinguish the fire. And let's aim for the shot trap. That's not quite it. The round got deflected on the gun barrel, and I get shot from my teammates that try to hit the M1 Abrams, and there I get a good shot into the turret ring, which is the weak spot of the M1 Abrams, and yeah, a teammate secures the kill. And I'm mildly complaining in the chat, mildly. This is not something that I could really be mad about it, because he couldn't know that I still had my gun operational and how the state of the M1 Abrams was. So eventually I would have taken down the M1 Abrams, I'm deeply convinced, because he had to interrupt the repair of the gun barrel because he was set on fire, or he would have burned down. Either way, I did fine in this situation. Let's have a look. Yeah, there we go. With the AP FSDS, I took down the other Abrams. This shot also could have been possible with the ATGM, with the heat defense. Sorry about this. And the AP FSDS, which is fantastic by the way, with 417mm, but no positive normalization, but still 195mm of penetration at 60 degrees angle of attack, 417 at 0 degrees angle of attack is fantastic. High muzzle velocity of 1650 meters per second is a tier 1 upgrade, and those are the 2 shells that you have to take with you, and you still have a reasonable amount of ammunition with 41 rounds in total. And 11 of those 40 rounds are stored in a radio rack, which allows this tank to have a 5-second reload, which is the very same reload on this 120mm gun with single piece ammunition without an autoloader than with the M1 Abrams with a 105mm gun with I guess lighter shells, smaller shells, also single piece ammunition and so forth at 8.3, which is twice the 9.3, sorry about this, which is twice the reload than on the 152mm auto-loading gun on the Carpet Z70 at battle rating 9.0. So at first glance this tank is faster, has a better stock round, better upgraded shell in my opinion, is just even more mobile than the KPZ-70, yet has a lower battle rating. And it's just so phenomenally stupid to fight with this tank against 7.7 tanks alongside a Maus or a Leopard 1, or to fight alongside T-54s even. While those tanks by themselves are not bad, the amount of power creep that this tank brings to the table is beyond absurd. It again shows the compression of new tanks, and there are some arguments why this tank has not 9.0 or 9.3 battle rating seen from top tier, as the top tier tanks are also fairly mobile. Every tank can kill this tank, so it's literally a glass cannon, but a fine glass cannon if I may say so myself, because of the maneuverability and the mobility. We are talking here about 30 horsepower per tons, good reverse gear, good top speed, 70 kilometers an hour, neutral steering, everything that you want, stabilizer, 5-second reload as I just mentioned, for the 11 rounds in the ready rack. After that it drops down to 7.5 seconds, something like this, but you refill the ready rack over and over again if you don't fight and shoot for a while. The tank does not really have that many drawbacks, and it's just fun to play. That is the initial verdict. Again, this is the first battle that I played ever with this tank, and yes, I upgraded it, and a lot of the situations I could have gone by without the upgrades that I bought. But even the stock grind for the AP FSDS round, if you really want it, is not that dramatic, you know. It's a tier 1 upgrade. If you look at the Challenger for the British, well, I have to further test the stock round on the Challenger, but I can assure you that with an APDS round with slightly enhanced penetration, it's not fun. And then you have to research the shot L23, which has less penetration and a longer reload on a tank at 9.3 with less mobility. You kind of see where I'm going. The tank has no armor, unlike all the other tanks. T-64A, T-64B, Carpet Z even has some armor, and well, then the Challenger 1, of course, hull down, it's a real monster, but it's very specialized in this situation. And then also the M1 Abrams, which is nearly as fast, has the same reload, again also very powerful shells and very strong armor. The M1 Abrams is a very strong tank from what I've seen, from how I've faced them and so forth. It's very troll, and so there is a reason why you give this tank not a 9.3. On other hand, it doesn't really face that many problems fighting against them. I mean, the stock round can even go through the upper frontal plate of a T-64B, and there are enough weak spots on the Challenger to go through with the Heat FS round. You can remove cover with the 20mm, so just to rely on the beginning on this very powerful Heat FS is not a bad thing. So it's a bit too much. It's just absurd when you have a down tier and you fight with and against 7.7, which is absolute madness. I'm honest about this. This is too much. This is so unfair for so many other nations' tanks. Sure, they can kill it, but they have to deal with your insane mobility, your insane reload, and your disturbing amount of firepower at that battle rating that you bring to 7.7. It's really a bit too much in my opinion. But the tank is fun. The tank by itself is fun, and you can deal to a certain degree with 9.0 tanks. And even era protection doesn't really save you against this tank. M60A1 Rise P, granted I shot through the gun mantle, but nevertheless, oh, that chieftain just went into or drove into the house wall, which saved him, and I just pulled the trigger with a reflex the second he stopped. And watch this fight again against an M163. Yeah, that was my 5th kill in my very first battle, and he set me on fire. Now, the side armor is remarkable. The side armor is remarkable on this tank because it's so thin that the spaced armor just absorbs so many of the shrapnels, and very often I just got penetrated and took little to no damage. Now I'm down to just 2 crew members, and I'm again here a bit defenseless normally against this tank, and I drove into a house wall like an absolute pro. Yeah, we have lost. There is no doubt about this. Now it's again fire and maneuver. That's the doctrine with the tank. There are just me and another person against half of the enemy team. But I'm not hiding. I'm going to the offensive. I want to see what is the tank capable of. The enemy team has the advantage. And there you could see a sight on the gun barrel, on the side armor, from what looks like a challenger or a chieftain at the extreme angle, and I'm going into the city. In this case, long range sniping is not that good. You don't have the armor for it. You have the gun for it to a certain degree, albeit the scope together with the not that fast heat FS of 1140 meters per second. It's a bit tricky, and you need to get used to the long-range sniping with this heat FS round, but it deals the damage. It has the punch against the majority of tanks. So yeah, this tank is at the moment recommendable, but I see it receiving an up tier like so many other tanks. The compression that the tanks you know, cause is absurd, and then we could see a non-penetration on the side from, again, a British tank. Not quite sure if it's a Challenger 1 or a Chieftain of any designation. And I just could maneuver, and now I need to flank them. I need to kill them. They know my position. Maybe I can take them out of the match. At this point in time, the capture zone again gets contested. I have no realistic chance of winning here, let's face it. At this point in time, I would need too much time to get 2 capture zones to stop the ticket bleed. The enemy would know where I am. It takes just too much time. I'm sorry, but this is a bit of an issue. I have to look into C. I have to contest the previous location of the tank that shot me. Maybe he's still there, you know, a skilled British tier boost. That is a downside of not having the most mobile tank. But don't let yourself be deceived by the mobility and the heat FS shell. It's not an auto win, and they're... yeah. That was bad. Maybe a misshot of mine, but nevertheless, that hurts. That really hurts, and yeah, that's the end of the battle. That's the end of the first impressions. A fantastic tank. I love it. I recommend to go for it. The stock grind is really not that painful, which is a big thumbs up for me. It can deal with almost every opponent, but it also can be killed by any opponent. On the other hand, it has the mobility to compensate for it, and the larger maps are the real playground for this tank. If you use it in a squad, you can hunt down, you can hunt down enemy tanks so easily. You can dominate the battlefield. The only real opposing enemy tank that you really have to fear is the M1 Abrams. Other than that, you can melt your way through any sort of armor with this fantastic heat FS round. And the APFSDS round is just a tier 1 upgrade. The mobility is there, a bit of a troll armor on the side, but you shouldn't rely on it. And yeah, fantastic tank. I tried to make a tank review on this tank, but over the weekend I didn't have that much time gaming, so sorry about this. Other than that, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like if you liked it. Let me know in the comment section what you think about the top tier meta now, which tank would have deserved which battle rating from the beginning. What do you think about the tanks now? Is the compression an issue? Is this glass cannon justified? Again, think about the direct comparison to the KP-Z70 and so forth. Well, that's it for me today, so thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Again, please give this video a like if you did, again. And yeah, we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder if you hit the subscribe button.